While people are doing various mongering about insult to Christian tune and the long arm Netanyahu and dropping innuendos about my loved ones, I thought I'd do something perfectly normal. Sound good? What I'm on about is religious trickery. People like to believe in things and they don't like to be tricked. And one of the meanest tricks of religious trickery is to say the jinns, the evil ones, try to get you to believe you're being tricked when you are being tricked. It's a clever business. Religion's been around for a while. Not to say all religion is trickery. People would like to believe. For me, believing is almost a reflex. And so you follow your doubts. It's called sincerity. So, I live in a society where it's legal to be atheist. And we say, you have the right to believe as you will, as long as you follow the law. The law is to uphold what's good for one another. In other words, you can't poison water. But you can hand somebody a glass of water and say, don't bless me because God didn't create the glass or the water. And you say, well, that's blasphemy. I won't take the water from your hand. If you utter the blasphemy, a guy can say, that's fine. Just don't poison it. See? Both men are entitled to do as they please, as long as they don't hurt one another. It's, believe it or not, a really good idea to think that way. Keeps you from being at each other's throats over matters that are foolishness. Now, I'm caught in the academic whirlpool because people who were older and more studied than me got a hold of me when I was a little boy. And they put a fork into my head and scrambled the brains. And then they said, you get out of that one, we'll call you Houdini. And there's theological seminaries in Deep Hum about, the forbidden planet of adult cinema and creatures from the id and satanic majesties. And it gets to be pretty much Warpo world. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest part of the time. And people were intolerant of things that you said that were put-downs. And it didn't mean they came to blows. It meant that they were socially off-putting. Pittsburgh is a maniacal place where they push the parameters of discourse into the plastic realm of Hollywood. Night of the Living Dead was made there. And there's a whole movement in the entertainments that has zombies, and the people who star in these films then go to Bible studies on every other Monday. It's hard to make sense of it. No, I don't even bother. So, because I don't think it makes any sense. It's just people who don't have established parameters of limits. They've been abused, and so they abuse others. And they can't let anybody get away with not being abusive. And then Patrick Buchanan comes along and praises them and says they're peasants. It's my peasant army. He burned my flag for talking. He has a good one on the peasant army stuff. I get ticked off because he insults gay men in the tragedy of the horrors of AIDS. And he says, hey, gay man, you know you love me more. You all love it, don't you? They said, yeah, he's against Ronald Reagan, get him. So you have this peasant army at my throat about Christianity. So Trumpy Tune is going to smooch the flag, say whatever he wants to about the queers, and still get them poison me in the mouth. It's an announcement of their momentum building COVID. People say, well, I brought it on myself because for a while I thought that it was pretty what Robert Fripp used to play. And maybe it came from a benign idea of musical mysticism. Well, music isn't mysticism, it's vibration. Certainly he isn't mystical. So, but the Licky Chops crowd wanted that postcard, man. They want that postcard. They can get money for that postcard. They can raise money for the AIDS victims who they lied to and let it spread and incited on deflection, diversion of targets, of which I'm one of the unhappy and miserable objects. In other words, they didn't give two flying Fs that I was emotionally disturbed by what Buchanan had said aggressively to mock their suffering. They didn't care at all. Why should I bother with them? Because I suffered horribly at his hands and theirs. They never even considered for a moment where I was emotionally or intellectually. Not for a moment they care. They were too busy serving Jeffin, the Zionist of Netanyahu's army, who was behind the whole operation. Gaza has Seattle queers to thank that there was no attempts to stop Netanyahu before he came unhinged again. And all the suffering that we're seeing in TikTok is because of Peter Gabriel's insufferable mania to contradict himself in the name of entertainment. Bowie puts out records called Heathen while his guitarist goes prancing around that he's a Sufi Nova. It's idiocy. I admired the Islamic ruminations of Syed Nasser when I studied it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with comparative religions. I'm told that the Middle East has come unhinged and there's warring parties in one another's throats. Everybody's going to get, it's going to come on the break loose. And it's all because of your wino ideas of insulting authority and encouraging the religious fanatics and so on and so forth. It looks to me like the people of Palestine were pretty mellow and had pretty good lives, despite the fact that they were being ghettoized. And that the problem may have actually been that stupid George Bush went on a bombing spree and Clinton and Obama backed him up. How stupid can you be? Look, when the French went in there, it was just scattered nomadic people. And they colonized it. And when the Zionists went in there, they were welcomed. And they went on a spree, straight from World War II, where the Vichy French were allowed to stay in Vietnam and lured us in. So don't just wash your hands of this nonsense and say it's because I get confused about Islam. Islamic studies are a social heritage that affects the world. And anybody in the right mind would be interested in its beauty, its calligraphy, its mosques. And nobody should be immune from prosecution for destroying their legacy. I think well of some of the things I learned from Islam. But I am not a Muslim. I live in a society where Muslims are meant to be kept safe. And when I salute the flag, it's because I know that it was meant to keep everybody safe. And here we are in a situation where it doesn't care to keep anybody safe. It's a mania for weaponry and hogwash.